I think we can start. Καλημέρα σε όλους, καλησπέρα μάλλον. Εγώ είμαι η Στέλλα και είμαι μέλος της IAESTE Θεσσαλονίκης. Σας καλωσορίζουμε στο σημερινό webinar, το τελευταίο της σειράς Build Your Future. Το σημερινό webinar να σας ενημερώσουμε ότι θα γίνει στα αγγλικά, καθώς ο καλεσμένος μας είναι ο κύριος Λορέντζο Νάβα. Παρακαλούμε να κρατήσετε τα μικρόφωνά σας κλειστά καθ' όλη τη διάρκεια. Παρ' όλα αυτά, αν το επιθυμείτε, μπορείτε να έχετε τις κάμερες ανοιχτές για να είναι πιο διαδραστικό το webinar. Good afternoon to everyone. We would like to welcome you to our last webinar of the series Build Your Future. Today's webinar will be in English because our presenter is Mr. Lorenzo Nava. We would like to let you know that you have to keep your microphones turned off, but you can open your cameras if you would like, so that the presentation is more interactive. Stelios, you can...
Thank you, Stella. Hello, everyone. I'm Stelios. On behalf of IAESTE Thessaloniki, I will be the host for today's webinar. I'd like to welcome our speaker, today's speaker, Lorenzo Nava, trainer, coach, and CEO of training and coaching enterprise Rescogita. I'm pronouncing that correctly, I think. Specializing in eco-consulting and capacity building. Lorenzo will talk today about human ecology and ecology of communication, and will guide us through persuasive and ethical communication. I think this is enough of an introduction. Lorenzo, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Kalimera, everybody, from Rome, not so far away from you guys, actually quite near. And yes, do feel free to turn on the camera. So it would be nice to have at least, we can see each other. At least you can confirm the stereotype that the most good looking people in Europe are from Greece. And so let's see if this stereotype can be confirmed or not. And yes, as my good friend Stelios just said, my name is Lorenzo Nava. I'll try to speak slowly. Nobody here, I think, is a native English speaker, so we'll take it slow and easy. I've been doing this for about 20 years, working in communication from media side, from politics side, from educational side, and so on, until it came to the point to create this company, Rescogita, to try to reinsert a bit of ethics and ecology into our external communication. Much of the materials we find out there today, which are created today, bring us to a lot of how to carry forward information, some even how to do disinformation, some how to persuade. But what about the meaning of community? What about what we understand as a community and as a community of humans? Ecology does not mean only the environment. Ecology is also our communities, it's each other, it's where we belong, and so on. So we'll take you through today's, I hope, short and interesting presentation, and then we can open up a bit of an open floor, a bit of a discussion between us until we have to be online. Hopefully this will not last very long, and we can come to see each other live once again. So, I'm just going to share my screen with you now. Okay, this is us. That's the name of our company. It's international. And why Rescogita? What does it mean? If we have here any students from philosophy, you would know that you know Descartes, the French philosopher. And he said that reality is divided in two parts, the res cogita and the res materia, the kingdom of thought and the kingdom of matter. What we believe is that the kingdom of thought creates reality, is the foreground that makes reality real, and it's personal and it's individual. And we perceive it according to our personality and according to our cultures. So this is why we came up with the motto, a new path to reality. The new path to reality is to acknowledge our mindset as individuals and as members of the community to be better, sustainable, ecological, and more human than actually we are right now. So that's the origin of our name. Forgive the short advertisement. What we do is that we provide trainings, coaching, capacity building, and consulting in different areas. The focus is personal well-being that is connected to the well-being of the communities and to the well-being of the biosphere as a whole. So me, fellow humans, nature, biosphere, the non-human world are connected, and the well-being of one influences the well-being of the other. And this happens through everyday situations. This can happen from how we behave to how we are with our friends, with our partners, with our families, up to how we communicate. And this is the purpose of today's webinar. And there will be time afterwards to share some questions and to discuss together all these elements. So there is a theory on which it's based. We didn't come up with it, and it's called ecopsychology. And that is to integrate the ego, and here the psychology students might raise an eyebrow, the ego, so our conscious mind, with the eco, our surroundings. Because much of what has been done so far has been to look for healing, look for improvements, working with our intrapersonal relations. We strive to work with the extrapersonal relations. So we are going to start to work on this ecopsychological approach to communication. How can we make this communication integral? How can we make communication ethical? How can we make communication something positive for others and ourselves at the same time? If you want to know more about ecopsychology, you're welcome to join on 20th of December at 1900 Central European Time. We have a free webinar just to introduce this whole concept. And you can like us on Facebook or LinkedIn and join us. So you're more than welcome. Okay, enough of advertisements now. And let's start to get into the topic. So ecological communication. It does indeed sound like something Fridays for Future would do, or Extinction Rebellion. It's broader than that, much, much broader. It's about a communication style that is good for you. So it doesn't harm you. It doesn't require you to make any sacrifice. It's good for your community as it creates no harm. It's based on truth, ethics, values, and principles, and is beneficial and good for the whole biosphere. In other words, a style of communication that harms nobody, that only brings benefit to me, to the community, and to the others. And that is the reason why our path to reality starts long, long time ago. So we're actually going to take the principles of ancient philosophers. By the way, if you remember the name Cogita we said before, that it comes from Descartes, I think as Greeks you might have noticed that Descartes stole the idea from Plato, from the world of ideas. And we are going, as promised, in a very, very faraway journey into the past. We are going to the times of Aristotle, your fellow countryman. And this man, whom I admire very much and is at the very basis of actually all our eco-communication approach, believed that human is made of three parts: the mind, the heart, and the soul. Forgive my pronunciation: logos, ethos, and pathos. Not bad, huh? So, the logos, ethos, and pathos is what creates the human nature, the human personality. And according to Aristotle, if your idea, if your purpose is to persuade somebody, You have to find the golden middle between mind, heart, and soul. What is there concerning the logical, rational mind of how they think? What is there concerning their values and principles, what they believe? What emotions drive them? If you find the middle between these three, you deliver a very persuasive message because you are talking to that person entirely. You're not just appealing to their logic, to their reasoning. You're not only making their emotions and their heartbeat, and you're not only appealing to the values and principles of these people, you are appealing to all of them. And the idea is actually to find what is the golden middle there between the mind, the heart, and the soul. Ethos, logos, pathos. What emotions are driving the person you're talking to? What emotions does this person have? What does this person get emotional about? What does their heart beat? What is the logic and rationality? What makes sense? Because the way we make sense of the world is very individual and cultural. So what is that makes sense for this person? And what are the values and principles of this person or group? The key message is right in the middle. It's right in the golden middle of the ethos, logos, and pathos. Once you discover them, and this is how we try to build around Aristotle's principle, find out your own. What is your own ethos? What are your values and principles? What is your logos? What makes sense for you? What is rational for you? What is logical for you? And pathos, what makes your heart beat? And you can make the same exercise about yourself. What are your values and principles? What does your rational and logical mind tell you? What makes your heart beat? So you've done a first exercise about the other person you're talking to, about your target group. And you made the ethos, logos, and pathos of this person or of this group. You made actually a list of things there. Make the same list for yourself. And then match them. See what makes your heartbeat makes the heartbeat of the other person as well. What makes sense to you also makes sense to the other person. Which values and principles drive your action? Also, which values and principles drives the action of your target group? Once you have that, you put them together into a message. And now the message will be extra strong, the most powerful message you could ever deliver, because this message contains the whole of your person and the whole of the other person, the completeness of it. And that's why it is going to be ethical. You are true to your values, to your logic, and to your emotions, as well as true to the other person's values, emotions, and principles. And that's what we put as the grounds, as the basis for ethical communication. A communication that is, yes, persuasive, yes, is good for you. A communication that appeals, that is talking directly to the person or to the target group and is true to them. And a communication that creates a sense of community, a sense of belonging to each other, because it's based on what you have in common with this person, which doesn't mean it's everything, but it is grounded on the commonalities between you and your target group and your person. So we're going to jump a few centuries. We started from Greece, and now we're coming to Rome. A few centuries later, there was a guy called Cicero, quite an idealist, and I think he probably went down into history as being one of the best speakers that there ever was in history. Even in Italian, his name is a synonym for a good speaker, a good orator. And he came with a very simple formula, very much based on Aristotle. His formula is, if you want to persuade me, think my thoughts, feel my feelings, and speak my words. So he's actually reinforcing a bit what Aristotle said, because this style of communication is based on empathy, feeling the other person. Think my thoughts, think the way I think, feel my feelings. What do I feel? Feel it as well. Speak my words. What words am I using to describe my reality? Because you're speaking to me, and you're being empathic towards me, towards us. And you're showing this empathy by thinking the thoughts, feeling the feelings, speaking the words. So what does it mean in practice? If you want to change their thoughts, if you believe that what they think is wrong, it doesn't work. You have discomfort, antagonism, suspicion. Some of you might have experienced to be in the internet forums or under some article and people arguing and polarized discussions on one side. And I've never seen, I've seen lots of people insulting each other, but I've never seen somebody writing something discriminatory, changing their mind because they're being called a racist. Actually, they become even more polarized in their position. And at that point, there is no more discussion. It's just an argument, and it's about who's going to win. So the focus is who we are. Who are you, and who is this other person, who is this group? Who are you as a community? Not about you, not about just you, but it's you as a member of the community where the people you're talking to are also members. Create a sense of belonging, create a sense of being together. Create a sense of community. It's us. Me and you is a part of us. So go one step higher. Feel their feelings. As Aristotle said, what feelings are driving your listeners? Can you challenge their comfort zone? How far can you go? What is the comfort zone, the bubble, where these people, where this person is? How far can it be challenged? And again, it comes from empathy. And keep in mind that people have mainly two motivators, fear and hope. Either they are afraid of losing something or they hope to gain something. A little note here, hope is more powerful. Fear creates inaction, creates paralysis, creates a standstill. If you talk directly to the hopes that the people have, they will make a positive association with you because you're talking about what they hope. You're talking about what they want. You're talking to their positive mind. And this has been actually reinforced by recent research in positive psychology that yes, positive associations are remembered for a longer time than negative ones. So feel their feelings. What feelings are driving them? Is it fear of losing something or hope to gain something? Try to look for what they hope for. How far can you challenge the comfort zone of these people? And speak their words. Pay attention to what language they're using. Be empathic. You want to create a community with this person, with the people you're talking to. Which words are the key words these people are using? And use them as well. It's you making a step towards them. It's you making a movement in their direction by adapting. And ask yourself these questions. Are you talking down to them? Are you coming as a sort of guru or messiah, trying to deliver the truth? Are you talking over their heads to a random person out there? Are you speaking professional jargon, something that you would understand and people in your immediate surroundings might understand? Are you trying to look smarter than what you really are? Because it's okay not to know. It's perfectly fine not to know some things. And here comes the most important part. To have a persuasive message, that message has to be you, has to be part of your identity. So, do you care about them in order for them to care about your ideas? How much do you actually care for the people you're speaking to? How much care are you putting into this community? How much of your emotions and feelings are there towards the well-being of the person you're speaking to, their community? If you do, and if it's true, the response you will get is mutual care. It's a reciprocal feeling, it's mutual, and it goes two ways. If you don't, it might just not work. So, we looked a bit at philosophy, we looked a bit at principles and other stuff. Right now, we want to finish our short webinar series, also this being the last one of your very long learning process, and it's Sunday morning as well. We want to give you a concrete tool. Keep this in mind that in the last decades, our mind has changed. Many years ago, we had the theory that an average human, can keep attention for 20 minutes. Actually, we are 23 minutes right now going on. A human mind can keep up for 20 minutes. Since the beginning of the information age, let's say around the 2000s, this has been decreasing over and over and over. So the average span of attention right now has changed to 8 seconds. That's the peak of attention that somebody gives. So the big focus of communication right now is to keep it short, essential, and to the point, as much as possible. And this is not always easy, especially we are from the Mediterranean. We do like our words, we do like our literature, we do like to speak, we make an art out of it. And to be so concise, so to the point, we say, oh, come on, that's something that belongs to other cultures, not ours. Not so. It is possible. It is possible, and it is also necessary, also because less is more. And if you really want to deliver your message to the point, the shorter, the more to the point is your message, the easier it is to catch the attention. If your message is short, powerful, strong, to the point, you catch the attention, and then you can elaborate more, of course. But you need that first moment to grab them. So the tool we're going to give you is something you can use in speaking, is something you can use in public speeches, is something you can use in writing, in making articles. It's something you can use to make social media posts because it's short. And it's called the 6-sentence argument. So, 6-sentence argument means how to deliver a message in 6 sentences of maximum 20 words each. So maximum 120 words. In 120 words, you deliver your message. Your strong, powerful, targeted, empathic message to your audience, to you, the other person, on your social media. And it is possible. It is extremely possible. You start with this structure. Introduction, maximum 20 words. Your position concerning the argument you're presenting, maximum 20 words. Reasoning, maximum 20 words. The challenge, maximum 20 words. Rebuttal, the rejection of the challenge, maximum 20 words. Conclusion, maximum 20 words. And there, you're done. That is basically it. So just look at them one by one. Introduction, what does it mean? The topic. What are you going to talk about? Are you going to talk about yourself? Are you going to talk about climate crisis? Are you going to talk about human rights situation? Whatever. The topic, guide to a specific situation, and you set the horizon of the positions available. We're here to talk about the climate crisis, and it is a hot topic nowadays. And there are those who believe it and those who don't. We are about 17 words now. In your position, you state your argument, claim, and position of the speaker chosen from above. Climate crisis is a reality. I believe it with all my heart. 10 words. Reason, a supportive reason, and choose only one. One is enough. You will have time to elaborate later. Give one supportive reason, and that is enough. I mean, look what's happening in Antarctica, and the melting ice caps is never been so fast. 19 words. Challenge. Address potential reservation a listener might have about a supportive reason. I know many politicians and world leaders say that this is a hoax and does not exist. So you show that you actually have heard the opposite side, the other side. Rebuttal. Inform the listener that the speaker has already analyzed all the pros and cons. So you tell them, true, leaders do say that. However, none of them is a scientist. And the science community is fully behind this. So I analyze the pros and cons, and I'm saying I rather believe this than that. 20 words. Conclusion. Sum up the argument, short, memorable, and to the point. Climate crisis is a reality. If we don't act now, this might jeopardize the future of the planet and our species. Full stop. 120 words, even less. I delivered my argument. Then I can leave space for others to discuss, to ask questions, to elaborate more. However, my statement is there, my position is there. There's one argument, one supportive reason, one rebuttal, and of course you're prepared for more. But what you want is your message to go there. What's your position and your conclusion of what wants to be made. And less is more. It's easier to read 120 words than a whole article of 15 pages with all the scientific evidence. However, this message can drive the person to be motivated to read that article. Onwards. So that's how the whole scheme looks like. Introduction, position, reasoning, challenge, rebuttal, conclusion. The topic, guide to specific situation, the horizon of positions available, your argument, claim, and position chosen from above, supportive reason, only one, address reservation that people might have about the supportive reason, inform the reader or listener that you have already analyzed all the pros and cons, summarize, make the argument short, memorable, and to the point. Easy as that. It does take a bit of practice. And if you took notes or screenshots of this, you can actually practice it by yourself. So if you are going to practice this with yourself or with your peers, maybe some of you are members of debate clubs, here is a set of questions you can use to evaluate your powerful 6-sentence argument. What is this argument about? Is it clear from the very start? Why should I listen to this? What is the reason that drives me, that motivates me to read this? The position that you state, is it from the introduction or did you add something else? You don't have to add anything else. You'll choose from the above. Keep it short and simple. Don't keep on adding stuff. Go around these 1-2 arguments that go there. Is it clear who is supposed to do what? in your message? Do you understand why someone might share the position of your reasoning? And do you accept this reason? And if you don't, why don't you accept this reason? Could there be a stronger reason than that? Could it be maybe the ozone layer might be more powerful, or extinction of animals might be a bit more powerful than the melting ice caps, as people might perceive Antarctica and Greenland to be too far away, and you want to use a more tangible reaction. The challenge, does it anticipate the criticism, and does it really apply to the supportive reason? So what I said about the politicians, some politicians saying that this is not true, that this is a hoax, it doesn't exist, and saying that scientists disagree with them. Is this enough as a supportive reason? Could I use another one? Can you find any weaknesses? And then we go to the rebuttal. Does the rebuttal apply to the anticipated criticism, or does it not? Do you accept the rebuttal as sufficient to dismiss the criticism? If not, why not? And the conclusion. The conclusion summarizes the argument based on the previous information. Does the conclusion exclusively rely on the aforementioned information? Meaning, are you adding more stuff, or are you using what you already have developed in the 100 words before? If you're adding more stuff, don't. You want to really reinforce your message and what you're saying. As said, you will have time after to add more information. For sure, you have more information, more data, more statistics. Not yet. Not yet, because first you want to get the person to want to discuss with you and to know what is your position and to know that you listened to other arguments, to arguments that don't agree with you. Do you feel that the conclusion motivates you to follow the speaker's advice? If I say we have to act now because we're jeopardizing the future of our planet and our species, is it enough? Is it enough to motivate you to follow the speaker's advice? If yes, why? If no, why? Could there be something stronger there to say? Could there be something more powerful to deliver? So these questions here will help you assess how powerful your 6-sentence argument is, how strong it is, and will help you adapt it. Better if you work this with groups, because you can be slightly subjective when you're looking at your own work, of course, and still not impossible. You can still use it with your own works. So this was a short introduction into the ecology of communication, into the principle that we're trying to foster, to promote across people, across businesses, across political organizations, across activists, across NGOs. And we're very grateful to IAESTE for giving us the opportunity today for delivering this message to you. And now we have time for questions, if any.
Thank you, Lorenzo, for your very interesting presentation. Thank you for joining us today. As soon as we are not so many participants, I think if anyone wants to ask a question, they can open their microphones or cameras and ask them directly, or just as usual, write them in the chat, and we will read them out loud.
You can also write in Greek. Stelios is a fantastic translator.
Yeah, this is also an option, yes, if you want. I'd like to ask something, actually.
Please do.
If, let's say we are talking to a group that consists of people we don't personally know. We've just met them, we've just seen them. I don't know. How can we build on this triangle of logos, pathos, and ethos in order to appeal to their minds, their hearts, their feelings, their weaknesses, their hopes, what you said, especially now that with internet, communication is getting more and more impersonal and more indirect, and let alone now that we are talking to small black boxes with a name via Zoom. How can we ensure that we keep some sort of engagement with the audience?
The first point is one of attitude. So it's really how much homework you've done into really trying to understand who your audience is. So to do a bit of basic research and everything. The other part is to actually to rely on assumptions, on stereotypes. In a way, we cannot avoid having stereotypes. It's part of our way to make sense of the world. We have them, and they can change, they can be removed, but they cannot really, they can change, they can mutate, but they can't really be removed. And in a way that I was adapting, I mean, I don't know any of you here, and I was simply trying to adapt my language and the content and of my presentation to non-native English speakers, thinking of what could be relevant, assuming what could be relevant for students, what could be important, what could be interesting. And for example, I went with the assumption that majority of people from the generation that now is in university has a very major emotional drive towards climate crisis and towards what's happening to the world. So I chose that one as an example. I was assuming, again, might not be true. However, I was using my own understanding of reality in order to try to deliver the message today that would appeal to the people that are present. So little by little, you will start to know your audience more. If you engage, if the first contact communication is successful. And the starting point is to go with your own assumptions, go with your own stereotypes, and try to do some background research and knowledge on who are they and what can you do. By the way, before I forget, because we are starting now to do this series of webinars out there, I'm posting here an evaluation form. It's 3 questions really, just to get some feedback to see how this is going. And then I get to the questions of, oh no, I cannot read it. To Fea, that's an F or a no?
Which of the last one? It's an omega,
Omega, of course, or sigma, os. Okay, thank you. So here's the evaluation form, and I get to the question there. How could we adjust our speech if our audience is huge, according to Aristotle's 3 parts? I mean, how could we manage to feel what all the people that we're going to speak to feel? It's a good question, and you're right. And our society has very much gone towards the direction of more and more individualism since the last 400 years, more or less. And one thing we keep on forgetting is that we have more that unite us than divide us. As I was telling Aristotelian, if you appeal, first of all, be yourself. Be your own ethos, logos, and pathos. Empathy, your emotions, your appeals will drive you towards that of the audience you have in front. These people have already something in common. They are likely to be humans. They're likely to be sentient. They are there in an audience, so something must have brought them there. 3 things already. They are interested in the topic, 4 things. What time of the day is it? Is it almost lunchtime? They might be hungry. Is it Sunday? They might have had a Saturday night out if there's no lockdown, etc., etc. So the more you explore, the more you think of what actually are things there in common. You get an immediate response by appealing of what is there in common. All the people there have some element of anxiety towards the COVID situation. Maybe not all. Maybe there are some people who deny it. However, still people are suffering the effects of quarantine, of lockdown, etc. You see how many things come out without even knowing these people, one by one. It's a matter of attitude, not of knowledge. It's not about knowing what all these people think, feel, and value. But it's about how much you can feel, how much you have in common, and how much you feel as part of a community with them. Stella, okay, it's written in Latin characters. Based on your experience, what do you think is that people can find most difficult to do regarding communication? In my experience, the most difficult challenge in communication is the too much focus on yourself. Am I saying this right? Can this message be done otherwise? Can I choose better words? So much focus on yourself that you forget who you're talking to. And sometimes when you shift the focus from me to us, all of a sudden things becomes much easier. All of a sudden, a spark is there because you are looking for what connects you to this person. And all of a sudden, you're not anymore talking to a stranger or a bunch of strangers. You are talking to you as a plural, to the plurality, to the community. So if you have to go up there and deliver a speech at some point or talk to thousands of people, think of you as a part of them. Think of you as a community. And all of a sudden, the courage will come. Because it's not just you, it's you as a part of something. And you are speaking to other people who belong to the same as you. And this should reduce a lot the stress, nervousness, self-focus. And you focus on what Cicero said. Do you care about them in order for them to care for your ideas? And if care is there, nothing else is needed.
I'd like to ask something else as well. Based on what you said about arguments, and especially now on the internet, in the comment section, I think I want to generalize this. We see now that people in these days, or lately, are more stiff and less receptive towards criticism or a different opinion, let alone criticism. And how can we deal with this situation? Because actually this is very often lately that people get offended, that people do not accept something that is contrary to their beliefs or experiences or anything, and they start to attack you, not discuss with you based on arguments or rational statements, but rather insult you. How can we deal with the situation, and what can we do instead to keep to this module and persuade them?
Shall we make a seminar on social psychology? $1 million question. The hate we see on the internet, on the forums and everything that comes there, and the polarization and the argument is a symptom, not an illness. When we see people who are denying that there is a pandemic, it's all a hoax, it's all fake news, and it's a conspiracy, and it's not true, it's just a flu, and all these things. It's a very natural reaction to fear. There is fear, yes. There is anxiety, yes. There is news coming every day of hospitals being overwhelmed and people dying and people suffering at home and all these elements. Of course, this generates fear. Reaction to fear are different. And denial is one of the reactions to fear. You might acknowledge the fear this person has and address directly. What is the discomfort that is there created? Let the person express, let the person steam out a bit, without the judgment of being, they should send all of you people, they should deny you should sign a document where you refuse any cure in case you catch a disease, like we see very much arguing in every country in the world right now. Rather, creating a first moment of empathy, a first moment of understanding, can actually bring the person towards dialogue. I must say that I'm doing a little bit of an experiment. I should not really declare this on a YouTube live, but I do have some friends from school who are, let's say, politically quite extremist, and I still keep them as friends on social media because I want to see what they talk about. I want to see their arguments. And sometimes I provoke them. But I notice that every time I manage to lead the discussion towards something we agree on. So establishing a commonality, establishing common ground can then put dialogue, because if they feel the person is being attacked, the person will go on defense. If the person goes on defense, then it's polarized. Then it's about who is winning. It's not about what to do. And mutual destruction never brought anything good. So it's like the spiral of conflict, but that's again another one. That's another training, potentially. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, it was sufficient. Yes, thank you.
Parakalo. All right. Any more questions or comments, suggestions, jokes? Okay. Anything from YouTube?
No, the YouTube has no comments as I see now.
Okay, Angeliki, thank you. Kind of. There's a lot more where that came from. No, I'm just reading. Congratulations. It was a valuable webinar. IAESTE, thank you for having the speaker. He was kind with great knowledge of what he was talking about. There's more where that came from. There are practical tips for successful potential public speech. Let's do it then. Let's hear those speeches coming. I mean, if we were less people, last time we made this kind of webinar, we actually practiced it here, but now we are a bit too many.
Yeah, that's also what I was going to say. The video will be uploaded to YouTube. So if anyone wants to practice the six, how did you call that? The six
sentence argument.
Yes, they have all the presentation and your comments reading the presentation. So it's actually available on YouTube, and you can watch this as many times as you want.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, thank you for nice words.
If nobody has any other question, how can we use this, not necessarily the six-sentence argument, but in general, this approach to communication when we are, let's say, presenting something scientific? I know this is a bit contradicting because it involves evidence and some rational thoughts, but how can we use this to appeal, but on a certain wavelength, like with a certain goal?
I don't get the question, sorry.
How can we appeal to a scientific audience?
Scientific audience.
Yeah. Using this
as scientists, of course, have no emotions. I mean, they're not people, they're computers. And they only have logos, and that's it. They actually removed surgically the other two. I mean, one big advice I can give to everybody, if you haven't done so yet, subscribe to TED Talks.
TED Talks.
TED Talks are fantastic examples of this. You have scientists, engineers, people you thought have no emotions actually having them. No, but really, then in TED Talks, you can find a lot of way how scientific or but also humanistic subjects are being delivered and targeted to a wider audience that is present there. The audience present in a TED Talk is usually investors and people from the local community, but they're even more popular in the internet. So you're talking to an even broader target there. And they're actually delivering information saying what is information is relevant for humans. And I mean, the best explanation I think I found for COVID was a TED Talk when they were talking about the hammer and the dance and how to deal with it using this metaphor. And it was a virologist doing that, trying to not to talk in virology jargon, but trying to talk in our language like, oh, okay, now it's clear what we need to do. Wow, perfect timing. See, and then they say Mediterranean people are not good with timing.
That's another stereotype, yes. Okay, if we don't have any more questions, I think this is the end of this webinar and the end of our webinar series. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for sticking with us, watching all these interesting topics and presentations. Thank you to the speakers. Thank you, Lorenzo, for being with us here.
Thank you for inviting.
And I wish everyone stays healthy, first of all, and has a good time now that Christmas, or sort of Christmas, is approaching.
Χρόνια πολλά.